Today we've come to indulge one of my other passions, which is steam locomotives and railway history, and where better to visit than the National Railway Museum. The initial entrance hall with a turntable for the movement of locomotives. Over here, of course, is the very, very famous Stephensons Rocket, which is recognisable to most people, even if you aren't railway orientated. This here is Stephensons Rocket, of course winner of the Rainhill Trials and probably forerunner for modern steam locomotives. Famous locomotive over on this side here, the Evening Star, for those that are even slightly knowledgeable about railway locomotives. One of the British Railways express class locomotives. Here we have the inside of the cab of British Railways 9F Evening Star, and as you can see, it's a very, very complex setup of levers and gauges. I'm not going to bore you with all the technical details, but there is no steering wheel, of course, so all of these were just in order to make the locomotive go and stop. What we have to remember is that these machines were absolute giants of engineering. This is a locomotive of interest, a Southern Railways Q1, widely accepted as the ugliest steam locomotive ever built. Behind me here you can see literally just the tender of an LMS express locomotive, and this would have been purely for carrying extra crew for long haul trains and routes, London to Scotland, and coal and water. And as you can see, it absolutely dwarfs me. So you can imagine the size of the locomotive that would have required a tender this big. This little locomotive here, Pet, may not look much, but has a very sentimental connection for me. During my childhood in Wales, I lived in a town called Tywyn, which was home to the Talyllyn narrow gauge railway, and at the Tywyn Wharf main station there was a narrow gauge railway museum, and this exhibit, which is now here in the National Railway Museum in York, used to be housed in that museum. And I remember as a child and in my early teens climbing on this locomotive, pretending to drive it, because like so many other children, I wanted to be a steam engine driver. Another exhibit here from my childhood is this Fairlie's Patent Livingston Thompson, which operated on the Festiniog Railway, and I'm pretty sure that I've had trips on that railway being hauled by this locomotive as a child in North Wales. What's unique about this locomotive is that the Fairlie's Patent actually paved the way for locomotives to become an international selling feature for the UK, because what Fairlie managed to do was design a locomotive which was able to negotiate narrow, twisting, mountainous tracks. And this was done by the fact that rather than having fixed wheels and fixed driving wheels, the wheels are actually on a swivelling bogie. What we do have to remember is that UK railway history isn't just about steam locomotives. It is, of course, about diesel locomotives and modern day electric locomotives. And here behind me we see some of the earlier examples of the diesel locomotives that were introduced by British Rail as replacement for an ageing steam rail network. Now here's a locomotive that should be immediately recognisable to most people, even if you have no prior railway knowledge. This is, of course, the London North Eastern Railway number 4468 Mallard, which still to this day holds the world speed record for a steam locomotive. Even though faster locomotives were built afterwards, the record was never contested, so it still holds the record to this day. Locomotives like Mallard were built and developed because of the massive competition between the London North Eastern Railway and the London Midland and Scottish Railway, both running competitive lines between London and Scotland. Each one trying to be faster, more comfortable, and giving people better travel experiences. Hence these absolute behemoths of engineering were designed and thundered up and down both the east and west coast main lines of England. Once British Rail had taken control of the railways, the pioneering didn't stop there. They developed the Intercity 125, which is just here behind me, which you may well have seen in various colourings up and down the country. Actually designed as a stopgap measure until something better could be designed, the Intercity 125 was actually such a successful design that it was then taken as the main intercity locomotive setup, still holding the world record for the fastest diesel locomotive, clocked at speeds of up to 148 miles an hour. Another locomotive that many will be familiar with if you travel between London and France is, of course, the Eurostar. Now over here we have the North Shed, which I believe is a maintenance area as well as further storage area. And I'm hoping and praying that the locomotive that I would love to see here today might actually be in here having some work done. Being a big fan and having a family connection to the London, Midland and Scottish Railway, there is a locomotive that should be in this museum called the Duchess of Hamilton, which is famous amongst the passenger express locomotives for the West Coast Main Line, and actually regularly ran at greater speeds than Mallard, but never actually contested its world record. Along this wall we have the crests of the different railway companies that existed, going right back to the Liverpool-Manchester Railway. Many of these were very, very ornate crests and would have been carried very proudly by both locomotives and coaching stock. I've just spotted down here actually the badge of a railway that I myself used to volunteer on, which is the Talisham Railway. Well, I've searched the North Shed here and it does seem like Duchess of Hamilton isn't in here, which is a real shame because it is a locomotive I would love to have seen again. But these things happen. I know the exhibit is here somewhere. I know that she isn't currently rail-worthy, so she would be a static exhibit. But yeah, I can't seem to find her. It appears our search for Duchess of Hamilton may have come to an end. However, she's currently inaccessible. She is over the back here, having restoration work done, and so therefore is currently cordoned off, which is a real shame. As I said, that was going to be a highlight for me of our visit here today. But it is, of course, heartwarming to see the level of care taken of the locomotives and running stock that are housed here at the National Railway Museum in order to cater for all ages, and of course hoping to inspire the next generation of railway and steam locomotive lovers. The museum incorporates a children's play area, which of course is railway themed, with steam locomotive play sets, everything to try and capture the young minds of the next generation and hopefully encourage them to want to keep this history alive for their next generation and generations to come. We've come over to this side of the museum to go and take part in the Flying Scotsman VR experience. It's not included in the admission, which is obviously free, but something that quite caught our eye as something that might be fun to do. So we're going to go and check this out. Probably won't be allowed to film inside, so I'll let you know when we come back out what we think. Really enjoyed that. Gave you a quite sort of concise history of the Flying Scotsman, the world's most famous steam locomotive that has been travelling all over the world, in America, Canada, Australia, just to name a few. and a very enjoyable experience, one of the better VR experiences I've ever had. I think I certainly enjoyed it. What about, let's find out what the G-Man thinks. G-Man?
It was really good.
Yeah, did you enjoy that? I hope you've enjoyed this little whistle-stop tour of the National Railway Museum, and if there are any technical terms that I've used that have caused confusion, please don't hesitate to leave a comment on the video and I will explain them. That's all from me here. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed it. I have tried to cover the main points here. There are over 100 years of history housed right here in this museum, and there are so many things to come and see. But if you have even the slightest interest in railways, steam locomotives, then I would absolutely recommend coming here. It is free of charge. There are add-on activities available, but admission is free of charge. And as I say, some of the exhibits here are absolutely outstanding. That's it from me. I'll see you in a video soon. Until then, bye for now.